So the focus today is laughter medicine. So we're just trying to get a kickoff early in the service.
And children all, we come together in faith and hope to find what meaning life holds for us, to laugh and sing with one another, to soothe the words of daily life, and to grow together in wisdom and love. Karen.
Again, as we deepen together, we'll share some brief words in a spirit of meditation and prayer. We are all here to learn how to love better. As we each do this in our own ways, we slowly become a blessing to those around us and a light to the world. And we started to think maybe we actually need to laugh and it's good for us. And healing. So we are wondering if there might be a doctor out there who knows a thing or two about laughter as good medicine. Once upon a time, there was a really fabulous doctor. Woo, yes! Woo. This doctor was called Dr. Laughter. Let's hear it. Let's hear a little laughter. So Dr. Laughter knew some things about laughter. And also, if you remember, this is a person who knows a lot about jokes. There was a famous crack joke told here, surprisingly, a few weeks ago. Anyway, we'll visit that one another day. So this doctor was a very kind doctor. And sometimes someone would come who needed some help. And she would listen to that person's heart. I think one thing you need is a prescription of laughter. So she'd look in all her prescriptions, and she'd pick the perfect prescription for this patient.
What do you call a dinosaur when it's asleep?
What do you call a dinosaur when it's asleep?
A dinosaur.
Do you feel a little bit better? Is your pain level down? Thank you. Well, she was very busy, and no sooner did that one leave than the next one came. I'm not sure who it's going to be. It's this one. And she would listen to what's going on, and she'd find out this one kind of had a cold. So she'd reach through her prescriptions, and she'd find the perfect one for this situation.
Why did the cookie go to the hospital?
Why did the cookie go to the hospital?
Because it was feeling crummy.
And just like that, his immune system was boosted. And he felt, do you feel a little bit better?
I feel like I could fly away.
And then there was another person who came. Jenna came. And Jenna was having some trouble sleeping.
Oh, I'm just so tired all the time.
Yeah. So Dr. Laughter looked for the very perfect prescription for this.
What did one ocean say to the other?
What did one ocean say to the other?
Nothing. It just waved.
And she found that if she could laugh for 10 minutes in a row, she got 2 better hours of sleep every night. Yeah. And I think we have a couple more. Here comes the next patient. This one had high blood pressure. You can tell. Yeah. So this one had high blood pressure. So Dr. Laughter listened and maybe took a pulse or some things like that, and then found the perfect prescription for Lydia.
What do you call it when a dinosaur crashes his car?
What do you call it when a dinosaur crashes his car?
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
We have an opportunity together to experience and express joy and laughter as medicine. And you might have noticed on the front page, can I just borrow that right there? It says J.P. Holmes, Reverend Karen Van Fossen, and friends, and we are surrounded by you. So this is, thank you, an opportunity for us to share laughter together. So we're going to say a little bit about laughter and how it's good medicine and the different kinds. And then we're each going to tell a story that we think is funny, and we're counting on you thinking it's funny too. And research shows that when you start laughing just because you want to, eventually your body will catch up and you'll laugh because you can't help it. So you get the healing benefits even if we're not that funny, if you just start to laugh. And in fact, let's just make a pact that when someone takes the risk to share a story that they think is funny, we'll just go ahead and start that little bit of laughter and let it take. Okay? Can we do that? Is that a fair agreement? All right. All right. So, just a few different kinds of laughter, just to give all our hearts, minds, and spirits and bodies a chance to experience this. So a few different kinds of laughter. Have you ever experienced etiquette laughter? Like maybe hopefully that's not what you just did. Or just now, like now that's not? Okay. But etiquette laughter is where we laugh to be polite, or even better, to be kind. Yeah. Then there's contagious laughter. I hope everyone here has had a chance to experience it, and if not until now, soon. It's where, especially it happens like right before the high school play when you're supposed to get on stage or something like that. It tends to happen when it's not supposed to, and it's really hard to hold in. And it's contagious like a virus, like a cold, and we this season know how contagious flus and colds are. Then there's nervous laughter. Can we hear a little nervous laughter, Colleen? Great, thanks. And then we don't need to say anything more about that. How about belly laughter? How about a volunteer to give us a belly laugh? And then there's silent laughter. And I actually learned about this in a few different ways. So silent laughter is where, okay, let's see it. Can we see it? Let's hear it.
Breathless laughter is something when something strikes you as so shockingly hilarious that you almost faint because your physical response is so, yeah. And I experienced it recently when I gave a friend of mine a really strong breath mint thing, and she was not expecting it, and the face she made was just priceless, and I almost passed out. I was so breathless from laughing.
Great, thank you. Or practice called laugh or laughter yoga. And there are, like in yoga, there are asanas. In this type of yoga, there are distinct practices. And one of them is, they call it the self pose, the self laughter. And you literally point at yourself with both fingers and laugh. And when I saw this in a kind of a circle of people doing that together, I could feel my whole heart relax. Like, yeah, we're all kind of vulnerable, and to acknowledge that in a circle that we're afraid of that very thing to happen, and then we just instigate it ourselves. Anyway, we won't do that one today, but there's time for a lot of things between the services, so who knows what will happen. But I'm going to turn it over to JP for some reflections and a story, I hope. And then I hope in the very backs of your hearts and minds, you're starting to think, maybe this one, in terms of your own stories. Here we go.
Okay. So I'm going to tell my story, and then, like Karen said, hopefully we got volunteers after this. So after all that, I'm going to start the story out, and this is how it begins. So after 9/11, the military, we went to Iraq. So the funeral details got a little shorter. So there was only 2 of us, and we had to take a tape recorder with us. So it was usually myself and another staff sergeant, and we'd go. The problem, I'd done bigger funeral details with more people. The problem with funeral details is you have to maintain your military bearing through the whole thing. You can't cry, and they get very sad, for yourself, because especially when taps plays, that's my thing. So it was just me and this other staff sergeant, and we were at this funeral of one particular, and we were folding the flag and doing our job with the music. Well, the guy they had singing there, we didn't know this till later, but the family had hired him to sing it. He did not know the person that had died, the soldier that had died or anything. He sang Wind Beneath My Wings, the worst sound ever heard in my life. And we thought he was grieving, but we found out later. And we're standing at attention like this the whole time, and and we can't see each other. We're side by side, but just shaking, because because normally these things we have to maintain. We have to hand that flag off. We have to be so super military bearing. And this guy was singing. We were just we could just feel each other's laughing inside. Oh, we got out of there. We got to the restaurant, because it usually takes us a minute. Usually either we went and drank or we went and ate. We got in there, and we just looked at each other. And we just had this eye contact thing, and just dying laughing in the restaurant, just laughing so hard. We just connected. And there's some people that were from the funeral came over and thanked us, and they were like, "What'd you guys think of that singer?" And they were like, it was awful. And they said, our dad would have really got a kick out of that bad singer. And they said, we were looking at you guys and we could see it, but we couldn't see it. We were we just bouncing when we were up there.
So Friday night, I got it into my mind. Well, actually, Nevaeh, my 6-year-old grandbaby, got it into my mind that it was time for a sleepover. And almost no one's ever seen my apartment because it's so small. It's just small. It's like a bed and a desk, and you can also cook to the side. But I thought, you know what, they're also small. So it would work out just fine, and they love coming over. So they came over, and they have a new little baby. So that's kind of perfect timing. It gives the parents a chance to bond with the baby, and the younger one, the 2-year-old, who's now a middle kid, a chance to really get some solid attention. Nevaeh never has any trouble getting attention. If you've ever met her, you know this. In fact, that's what the story is going to be about. Okay, so I pick him up, I bring him over, and the idea, so we do all these things. It's really fun. We're playing games and putting together, making things out of blocks, and of course, Nevaeh wants to cook. And thankfully, a congregant gave me a cooking set so we can cook without making a mess. And anyway, super fun and great, and eventually, they finally almost fall asleep. And the idea is I'm going to sleep in between them on my bed. Because there's no room, there's no other place, there's not another room, anyway, okay, so I'm going to sleep. Thanks for your empathy. I'm going to sleep in between them. Okay, so Chaz is out. He's out. He's 2, he's down, he's sleeping. So sometimes I cuddle here, and sometimes, anyway, so a lot of cuddling with Chaz. And I'm trying to cuddle with Nevaeh too, but how many people have met Nevaeh? Okay, I've noticed how much you try to help me when Nevaeh is around, and I'm really grateful, but you weren't there Friday night. So she is as energetic in the middle of the night as she is in the middle of the day. And whenever I've had a sleepover with them before, it's been other circumstances. We've gone swimming. I had no way to know how physically active she was going to be all night long. So I finally kind of fall asleep, and this hand comes over and just lands on my face. Right, so I'm cuddling her, I fall asleep, and when I wake up again, her feet, this is really not an exaggeration, her feet are here and her head is there. Just right in the same spot we fell asleep in. And there's a leg over me, and at one point, I wake up because there is breathing into my nostrils. She's finally fallen asleep, and she is breathing into my nostrils. Okay, so I could have predicted it. You're probably seeing this coming, but somehow I didn't. In the middle of the night, there's this big thunk, right? She fell out of the bed. And but she fell down sitting. Managed to fall down sitting. And I peeked over the edge, and she looked up at me like, Grandma, you're really interrupting my sleep by doing this. And I was like, interrupting your sleep.
Those lines. So I went to Whitefish, Montana for skiing last weekend, and this is the first time I went down a black diamond. And so I was doing the blues fairly easily, And Black Diamond is the second hardest slope. It's goes green circle, green square, blue, and then Black Diamond, double Black Diamond. I was skiing. And snowboards are for, we won't talk about that. and yeah. and so I cross my skis and I fall. And okay, so that's not very funny. But what happened is both my skis are going down the hill without me. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how am I supposed to get down this hill? It's too steep to walk. And so I'm just like, okay. And so I sit down and I just slide down on my butt. And I just keep going. And my dad's like, I can go get your skis. I'm like, how are you supposed to get back up the hill? They're going down. How are you supposed to get back up the hill? And he's like, I'll just meet you down at the bottom. So I just start sliding down on my butt all the way to the bottom. And then my skis finally swerve and go into a snowbank. And then I skied probably like a quarter of the way down. But yeah, and so it's so steep. It looked like there was a person on the skis, but they just kept going.
So who likes mango? See, there's a lot of you. And yeah, mango. My brother, he was here once. He taught me to play guitar. We went to we went on a cruise vacation, and a tropical vacation, and he never ate mango before. So actually not on the vacation, but back home I was giving him mango to try. He spit it out on the floor. Everybody laughed at him. I don't know if it was a texture thing or something, but not into mango. Second half of the story. I've been snickering now every time I see Swiss cheese, because Qatar, our youngest, really likes cheese, like cheese stick after cheese stick. So I give her a chunk of Swiss cheese, and she was like, thinking, I suppose, it's just like mozzarella, but out on the floor. I was like, okay, Qatar, you don't like Swiss cheese.
Thank you.
Okay, one thing that I'm going to point out is Jeremiah was here for this. Does everybody remember the week after Christmas when we got all that snow? Okay, so it was me, Ken, Jeremiah, and Alexis all shoveling, and we were getting ready to finish up, and then after that, we were going to load up the snowblower to take to Andrea's office. And I'm pretty sure we've told you this story already, but so Ken walks into the garage, and I'm following right behind him. But the thing is, so it's a two-door garage. There's one on the left and one on the right. The one on the left side was open, so I was getting ready to walk in, and I didn't realize this right away, but Ken pressed the button to close the garage door. So I'm walking right along, and then out of nowhere, the garage door just smacks me in the face, and then Ken looks at me, and I look at him, and I'm like, what the heck just happened? And we both start laughing, and he's like, I was gonna close, or I didn't realize you were following behind me. And then I was like, I didn't even realize the garage door was closing. And then I was like, next thing I know, I got smacked in the face by a garage door.
That sounded painful. Okay, I saw Jax here, the dog, which reminded me of a story about our dog, Vinny. Some of you have met. He's very animated. He wouldn't behave in church like Jax, but Vinny has a middle name. All pets should have middle names. His middle name is Valentine. And probably, I think it was the first year we had him. So I thought he was an adult because he was 1 when we got him. I did not have any idea that still means you're a puppy for like 3 more years. So Carly, his middle name is Valentine because Carly very carefully picked out a heart-shaped cardboard box of foil-wrapped basketballs for her teacher for Valentine's Day. Left them on the dining room table, walked away for maybe 5 minutes. He ate the whole box, the cardboard, the chocolate, and the foil, and ended up at the vet on February 13th after hours to get whatever they do, that shot that makes you throw up everywhere. So that's just one of his fun tales.
So some of you may not know me because I'm not a regular here, but my name is Valley, and I am married to my husband, whose name is James. And there was one day when we were on our way to Fargo, and we were in my sister's van, and my sister had 3 children at that point, and I was in the back seat, squished between 2 car seats for 3 hours, which was not great. But we were just passing Valley City, and we must have mentioned when we went through Jamestown that we had just passed Jamestown. And my nephew Judah, who was maybe 5 or 6 at that time, he looked at me and he's like, Valley, did you marry James because Jamestown and Valley City are right next to each other? And we just laughed. And that will help anyone to remember my name. And so now, every time we go through Jamestown, I'm like, Jamestown, Valley City.
I had to go all the way back to high school to get a story for you. So I don't remember what I had for breakfast, but I will tell you what happened in 1970. It was driver's ed. Yes, we had cars then. And Mr. McKay was our driver's ed teacher. And he was, I don't know, I think driver's ed teachers are reluctant. Like they're the last, they just know they're at the bottom of the pile when they have to take us out there. And we weren't any better to him than he was to us. So, because we just weren't. Anyway, one of the things we did one time when we were driving, a friend was in the front seat, and she saw that the 2 of us in the back weren't paying attention to her. Mr. McKay was reading, and she decided to swerve like this. Well, when she did, he bonked his head. What the hell? So that's just kind of how we treated each other. So we didn't have, there was no mutual respect anywhere in there. So anyway, so one day it was snowing. It had snowed. It was awful. It was like we had where it rained first, and so slick underneath. We were supposed to go out driving in the snow, and we're sitting in the car waiting for him. And we see him coming across, and we're kind of not really paying attention. And all of a sudden, Mr. McKay's gone. What the where? Where'd he go? And pretty soon, we see this hand come up from the sidewalk, the front of the car. Boom! On the and he had fallen and slipped under the car. And we couldn't laugh. For a whole hour, we couldn't laugh. He was not gonna let us. But we did later, and as you can tell, I remember that.
With Alma in the doctor's outfit, there was a very pious man who had died and gone to heaven. And he truly was a pious man. And when you got there, the pearly gates, there was a line at the pearly gates, but he truly was a pious man, and he thought, well, I should be able to just go in. So he walked up to the front of the line, and St. Peter said, no, I'm sorry, here we're all equal, so you'll just have to go back and get in line. The pious man said, okay. Well, he was about halfway through the line, and this man walks by, and he's got a white smock on with a stethoscope around his neck, and he just walks into heaven. Well, the pious man was a little incensed. He went out back up to St. Peter. He said, what's going on here? You said we're all equal. St. Peter said, we are. He said, but who was the guy then with the smock and the stethoscope? Well, didn't you recognize him? He said, that was God. He likes to go to earth and play doctor once in a while.
This was a while back. It's about a video game, Mario, for those of you who know how to video games, so it was quite a while ago. And our son, Alex, really was into video games, and we were trying to make sure that the kind of games he played were fun and appropriate. And so he was playing one of the Mario games on our computer, and Karen is also, my wife is also had a lot of fun with that and was playing it. So Alex and Karen were playing this game. And it was how you were trying to save a damsel in distress that was out in some place, and they were trying to find her and rescue her. And my daughter, who is Nicole, who is like 3 years younger than Alex, was very quiz. She was trying to follow it on the screen, trying to follow all this. Finally, she just was frustrated. She blurted out, "What is this about a damn weasel in a dress?"
When I was a teenager, we lived in Langdon, North Dakota. It's 17 miles from the Canadian border and 60 from Minnesota. And we would go up to Canada, La Riviere, and go skiing. And my brother had his driver's license, so he said, "Thea, let's go skiing up in La Riviere." I said, okay. So my brother and I took off. I think it was like an hour drive. And he took me up there, and he helped me get my skis on. And back in my day, we had rope tows. Now, a rope tow is like a big rope that goes round and round, and you have to hang on to this rope, and you have your skis in the tracks, and you go up this rope tow down the baby hill, okay? So I could handle that one. And this one day, my brother said, come on, Thea, let's do the T-bar. Now, a T-bar comes down like this and across like this, and one person sits on one side and another person sits on the other side. So my brother convinced me to do this. So I go up this hill. I'm at the top of this hill, and I'm looking down, and I'm going, ain't doing it. I took my skis off, carried him over to the baby hill. This guy coming up the T-bar hollers at me, "You're supposed to wear them, not carry them."
Well, thank you all for those stories and for the laughter that went with them. There are many things that hold a community together, and laughter and joy, as well as sadness, is an important part of who we are, we think. So, in an expansive and diverse universe, but you don't have to go to outer space to learn that lesson. Right here on Earth, there are millions of species of all types, and then there are the people, all types, with varying languages and customs. Life is a beautiful assortment. We have much to celebrate.